As a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings universe, when I found out they were doing a sequel to Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, I was really excited. I loved the first game, and the Nemesis system is something that really drove me in. Having that feel of constant challenge in defeat is something that I really like in a game, much more than something like Dark Souls, for example, where the game is consistently hard. I really like that challenge of I've made a mistake, now things are going to get harder, and that sort of learning to strive to overcome your initial failings within a game. I think that's something that really appeals to me. In the sequel, Shadow of War, the game has really sort of improved on much of its previous systems. The Nemesis system, as I previously said, it's now much more depth than it was before. Your possessed captains that fight for you can now be used and utilised in new ways, such as infiltrating a war chief to sort of become his spy, to sort of let you know what he's up to, which is something I really like. And the whole controlling forts and capturing those forts and then later on having to defend them is something that really appeals to me as well. Which is a vast sort of, improvement on what was in the previous title. The game has also got new sort of armour and weapon sets, which the previous game didn't have, where it was only sort of runes and minor sort of, passive bonuses. Now, those are still in the game with the new gem sockets. So there's 3 types of gems, a warrior's gem, a life gem, and a wealth gem. Now, they can be upgraded by merging lesser gems together in order to get the newer, more powerful gems later on. So there's always, the gems are always relevant. But what's interesting is that these gems work in different ways into different items. So, for example, a warrior's gem will have a property where, if put into a weapon, increases you to do more damage with that weapon. And then of course it has different bonuses if it's put into an armor slot, for example. So some of the things I really like about this game are just its big improvements. The game is much more cinematic than the first game, which is something that really appeals to me as a fan of the movies and just the whole Tolkien universe. Being able to get all that extra lore and stuff is just, it puts a smile on my face, and it's a universe I love, so I may seem a little bit biased there in terms of the storytelling, but it is a huge improvement on the first game. While the Nemesis system is great on its own in the first game, with a lackluster storytelling, it felt a bit hollow, if I might say so. But in this, that new story sort of telling really emphasises, even the Nemesis system itself has sort of better voice acting through the orcs, with a sense of humour, which, even after you die by that same captain over and over again, as he becomes more powerful, it makes you smile still. So some of the bad things that I don't like, first of all, is probably the most controversial topic of the whole game, which everyone's been talking about for weeks, is the introduction of loot boxes within the game. Loot boxes, in my opinion, don't belong in single player games. I'm just going to go out and say it. I think that loot boxes should only be for cosmetic things, and they should be in multiplayer games only. I don't like how captains and items and runes and training for your captains can all be bought with real money, whilst the in-game currency itself is easy enough to earn, and so the loot boxes can all be purchased with in-game currency. It really does, for me, in a game with this kind of system and gameplay, really does I feel like it kind of takes the fun out. The game is very grindy as it is, but in a grindy game, making it so you can pay for a skip to that grind, I think is outright shameful. Not to say that the loot boxes are forced in your face, because they're not, but every time you open the game menu, you do have this little sparkle in the corner at the side of the screen saying marketplace this way. So it's there, and it is a bit in your face, but it's not the be all and end all. But that's sort of my main dislike with the game. The next thing I'd have to say is If you're playing this game on PC, play it with a controller. The free running controls seem a bit janky. They seem a little bit broken in terms of navigation, but I myself swapped to a controller after about my first sort of 4 or 5 hours. I thought, I'll give it a go, keyboard and mouse. It seemed a bit weird, thought I'll try and get used to it. But the moment I swapped to controller, it was so much smoother. The only one thing I would say that the PC controls have an advantage over the console is you can get much better sort of headshots and things if you're when you're using the bow. But I suppose that might just be my own personal experience playing playing PC shooters over consoles. As I'm rubbish at aiming anything like that on a gamepad. So to summarise, Middle-earth Shadow of War is a good game. It's not a perfect game, as it's got nitpicky things wrong with it. As I said, on PC it looks phenomenal. I haven't seen the game on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, and I'm sure it will look good on the PS4 Pro and also the Xbox One X when it comes out, but I'm a PC gamer, so for me, I couldn't resist, and the game does look phenomenal on PC. So I would highly recommend, if you are part of the Master Race fan club, join us and get this game on PC. Its gameplay is solid, it's fun, and it's got a real sense of challenge. If you play on the Nemesis difficulty, so hard, which I highly recommend, you get this kind of frustration, but like in sort of a funny way, if that makes any sense. But it's a really fun game to play. While yes, it has a few nitpicky things like loot boxes, other than that, I haven't really come across yet in my sort of 10-15 hours played so far. Haven't really come across anything yet that sort of stand out, put me off the game. It's not buggy, it looks good, the storytelling is strong, so I'd recommend pick up this game. If I had to give it a rating, I'd say 7.5 out of 10, maybe an 8. I don't believe in perfect 10s. So yeah, maybe a 4 out of 5 stars, a 52 out of a 63.9, if you want to get funny about the ratings. But so yeah, no, the game's good, it's not perfect, but you should pick it up and play it, and see for yourself.